Welcome to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN. Now, here's your hosts, Gary Kelley and Brad Avergon.
Hi, and welcome back to All Things Real Estate. I'm Gary Kelley with RE/MAX Executive Realty.
I'm Brad Avergon with Envision Bank and Mortgage.
We want to thank Ted, living large and loving it behind the glass.
Absolutely.
He's the one that makes us sound good. I asked him before if I could have a Lou Rawls voice or something like that, and he said no. No, he can only work with what I've got. So that's a bit of a problem. In today's show, we want to talk about what are some winning strategies in real estate, and then also in the second segment, buy, sell, and hold. Does it make sense to do that? So we're going to dive into winning strategies for real estate.
Absolutely. So, Gary, we find ourselves in a very, very competitive market, right? So what are some of the winning strategies that people can employ? I mean, inventory's tight. There's not a lot of it out there. And so oftentimes when people are they find a home, right? You get them to the home, they like the home, they want to get this house. What are some of the things that they can do to try to really make sure they get that property?
So from my perspective, everyone wants to be agile. Everyone wants to go quickly. And so what we tell our clients is if they see a house that they like, don't wait for the weekend to go see it. Let's go see it now. Because you want to get into it and make the decision early on. And then when it comes to writing the offer, there are some tweaks that we can use, but if I shared them, then everyone would know them, and I can't do that.
You told me you'd have to kill me, and we just don't want that to happen.
So let's talk about some things.
Okay.
Some folks will go out and they'll look at houses and they haven't been pre-approved. Okay, mm-hmm. Brad, you're the mortgage officer. Why wouldn't someone be pre-approved?
You know what? Sometimes there's no reason that they shouldn't get pre-approved. It really saves them a lot of time, energy, and frustration. But a lot of times what happens is, people go onto, a website or they see a listing or something and all of a sudden they say, oh, let's go shopping. We've always wanted, this house is beautiful. Let's go out there. And it's really like going into a situation that can only lead to frustration, because if you happen to like that house, you're not in a position to make an offer. Most sellers, correct me if I'm wrong, but most sellers really expect a pre-approval letter in hand with the offer. Otherwise, why would they accept it?
As an agent, I won't accept one. Okay, there have been times where I've gotten an offer and someone has said, I can't reach the loan officer.
Right.
And so it'll come tomorrow, but you need to know it's coming. Okay, good. But if I get someone that just neglects that, unless it's a cash buyer,
yeah.
At which point you have to have some proof of funds of some kind.
Right.
That's important. One of the other things is to waive the home inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, as I sit here, off in Franklin, Massachusetts, Bill Wright, who's one of the broker owners of the company I'm in, is saying, don't even go there. Okay, because you want the buyer to have the home inspection so that they understand everything about the house, and it minimizes risk to us. There are times, sorry Bill, where waiving the home inspection might make sense. For example, if you're buying a property that you're going to tear down, okay, why are we doing a home inspection? If you're buying a property that you're going to rehab and you have a crew and you've done this before and you kind of know what you're getting into and no problem with the house can you not fix with your crew, okay, that's a consideration. So since you really want to have a home inspection, the reason that the seller may not want that, or they may find it appealing not to have one, is because the home inspection often opens up another whole series of negotiations. I look at the home inspection as being something to identify major structural, mechanical, and life safety issues.
Right.
I actually had someone once say, I want all the light bulbs replaced because that's what's important to me. I want all new light bulbs. That's frankly kind of ridiculous, okay?
It's kind of enlightening.
So it is. So along those lines, what you might think about is what we would advise our clients is you're not going to ask for any changes to the house up to a certain dollar amount. In other words, if it's, there's always going to be, it's home inspection 101, a loose toilet, okay? Toilet bolts had to be replaced. Hopefully there's no damage. I mean, that's what the home inspector determines.
Right.
But if it's something minor relatively like that, and there's no ancillary damage, then going in and saying, I want you to replace the toilet bolts. Most people, they'll find it annoying.
Yeah.
It's simple to do. But at the same time, they say, why? So we'll say up to $2,000, up to $5,000. It depends upon the situation. We won't ask for any home inspection issues.
Right. So, and do you write that right into the offer typically, Gary, or
We do.
You do. So, because
We highlight it for the seller because we want the seller to know, listen, we're going to do a home inspection, but we're not going to nickel and dime
We're
you.
not going to nickel and dime you. It's interesting you bring that up because some of the times, you'll see a buyer and they've got a certain criteria, and they actually somehow in their minds they think, well, if I go in and I see all these problems and I list them down on my offer, I see this wrong, I see that wrong, I'm going to make a lowball offer based on the fact that these things are either not working based on my just visual observation, not even having done the home inspection, or they go in and they say, well, I observe all these things and I'm just going to make my lowball offer. And what I think is that oftentimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, oftentimes that kind of just shoots them right out of the ballpark before they ever got started. They were using it as a negotiating tactic before they ever had agreement.
Remember that at the end of the day, people buy from people. Mm-hmm. And so you're sitting there with a buyer who wants to do a lowball offer, with a seller who's trying to maximize their value. They see someone that comes in with a enumerated list like that. There's another expression that says if it starts poorly, it may end poorly.
Right.
So if they start out from the get-go pointing out all the warts, mm-hmm. the seller may say, listen, they're going to be a problem later. Let's just move on.
I absolutely agree. I think the first part is to say, look, we like your home. We're making a respectable offer. Hopefully, the listing agent did their job, and it's in the ballpark of reality of what it should be listed for. Do you recommend that your clients? I've seen sometimes prospective home buyers will submit a letter with their offer, saying, "Oh, my wife and I love your home. We have we'd like to raise our kids here. Blah 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 blah." Do you think that makes a difference sometimes?
I do think it makes a difference. I have personal experience with my daughter where she wrote a letter and it resonated with the seller's wife because of a similar situation of someone that was looking for a house and struggling to do so. We also try to, as a part of our preparing to do an offer, try to understand what the motivations are of the seller to sell. In some cases, there's been a death in the family, and it's actually the family selling. So you want to, in that case, convey in a letter how, we like the house, really excited, and we want to continue the joy that we felt when we first walked in the house. Those are the types of things that go into it, because at the end of the day, the real estate process is actually very cold with standard forms, black and white and everything else. And in this case, you're trying to pierce that and let people know that it's people buying from people.
Absolutely.
How about folks that try to waive a mortgage contingency?
I'm not a big fan of waiving the mortgage contingency.
I am if they're a cash buyer.
If they're cash, I was just going to say, unless they're a cash buyer or ready to pay cash. I mean, that's sometimes that can happen. Somebody says, listen, I'm in a very competitive situation. There's many offers on the table. I do have the ability to pay cash for this, even though I may go get a mortgage anyway. And as long as they're comfortable with that if they don't get the mortgage, that they are going to pay cash, it certainly puts them in a competitive situation. So that is definitely a winning strategy. But I would say most clients are not in that position, and they do need to have that protection. And you have to remember that a mortgage contingency, there's really two escape clauses in a contract, in an offer contract. One is the home inspection, which basically says that if you walk into, if your home inspector comes in, you think the house is beautiful, and the home inspector comes in and says, oh gosh, yeah, the house happens to be built on a toxic nuclear waste dump, you can walk away from that transaction and get your money back. The second one is the mortgage contingency, which basically says if for any reason you do not get your mortgage by X date, and you notify the seller or their agents by that date that you have been unable to get a mortgage, you get your money back. Now, sometimes that requires getting a decline letter from the bank saying we could not provide it to this person, but there can be many reasons for that. Sometimes it's a matter that there's not clear title. Sometimes it's a matter of the property did not appraise for what the person was willing to purchase it for. So it allows people to kind of, get into a situation where they have some protection. So
one last thought as we start to look at the time and get ready
Sure.
for the next segment. One last thought is to have the agent contact the seller and say, when do you want to close? Okay, that simple question can be so insightful, because they may want to close in the summertime.
Yep.
They may want to close right before school starts. There may be a variety of things that if you ask, you can make your offer more apparent. So
Absolutely.
you're listening to All Things Real Estate with Gary Kelley and
Brad Avergon.
And we will be back in our second segment talking about buy, sell, and hold strategies.
You've been listening to All Things Real Estate on Full Service Radio, 830 WCRN.